Hello, this is Rux Ton, and I've been using my Patreon lately to get used to a constant flow of making videos, and today, rather this super early morning, I decided why not do one for the main channel. This will be kind of like I don't want to say a weekly check-in yet. I don't know how regular I want to be, but mostly just want to talk about some stuff. And today I'm going to start from the very tippity-toppity of, you know, how I came to be with making music. I don't remember if I even have made one of these videos on this channel, but we're going to specifically talk about video games, because video games are actually why I make music. This series will probably just be like a Rux Talks thing. I'm going to put it in like the podcast section of this channel, so that way it's just filtered immediately there. So, video games. You love them. I love them. Sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Video games and music are... wow. Like, they're wow. Like... man, let's start from the very beginning, right? So, when I was a kid, I don't think I really cared about music that much, and it feels so weird to say that now because of what I currently do, but nothing really stuck out to me. At the time, I was not really interested in, like, playing music. I wasn't really interested in, like, listening to it. Nothing caught my eye. I mean, it was like, you know, late 90s, early 2000s. You know, I was born in 92, and at the time it was just a lot of like, I don't want to say like grungy rock. My dad was really into like Pantera and Metallica. My mom was into pop music of pretty much every decade. She just really enjoyed pop music of the times, and that's all I listened to, or that's rather what I was subjected to. Every once in a while, my dad would play, like, funk, and, like, R&B stuff. I mean, he was a metalhead, but he really liked funk music, and, like, I was, kind of interested in, like, Bootsy Collins and stuff. Not even kind of. I like Bootsy Collins, Zapp and Roger and stuff, which is funny because I don't make stuff like that, but it begins to make sense. Electronic music. All that funk stuff was electronic stuff. That's when I started to realize kind of what I liked. I just didn't know what it was. I played a shit ton of video games. I'm talking like PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo. I mean, I grew up with like every console. Like it was the earliest that I can remember playing video games. I was an Atari 2600 or whatever, and I had the NES. Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, I had them all. So my mom was the gamer in the family at the time, so naturally I played a lot of video games while, you know, watching her play video games, and then like I'd help her do things, she'd help me do things, and one of the most notable ones was the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. 2 is my favorite. I really love Donkey Kong. I don't know how obvious I can make it, but if you're just listening, my arm is all Donkey Kong tattoos. But Donkey Kong's music was like the pinnacle point for me, where I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, how did this get made? How did this doesn't sound like real instruments. Like, in my head, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I just couldn't figure it out. And it blew my mind. Zelda is another series that did the same thing. Like, everything had like such a specific theme. Like, let's just take away from the fact that they did so much with so little in terms of like memory, and the leaps that they had to take, like learning the software as they were making the music for the game themselves. Like, there's a lot to it, but what really got me was the theming, very particular like slides of notes, arpeggios, mostly in Donkey Kong. There's a lot of arpeggiation in the music and a lot of those, and that's like what made me go like, this is hype, like this is sick. So let's fast forward a little bit, right? Obviously I liked Sonic the Hedgehog. The music was insane. I don't even need to say much more, but let's fast forward a bit to like the PlayStation era. So when I got a PlayStation, I was playing a lot of like Armored Core, which has an insane fucking soundtrack. Like I didn't really know what like jungle or breaks was. I didn't really understand genres. So let's throw that out there. I didn't understand genres. I knew what I liked and that was it. I just didn't know what it was called. By this time I'm like 7, 8, 9-ish years old. And that's when I started to like explore. Like Eiffel 65 was on the radio a lot, and the song Blue. I know a lot of people know that song. Blue Dabba Dee, whatever. Daft Punk was also on the radio all the time. One More Time, Technologic, Around the World, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, obviously. I knew that I fucking loved that shit, and I'm like, man, I need more. I went full gremlin mode, dude. So like there was a local arcade here. A lot of, if you're from like Toledo, I live in Toledo, Ohio, but if people from Michigan and Ohio might know, Major Magic's was like a kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese. I do that because it's like similar, but in my opinion, way better. So Major Magic's had Dance Dance Revolution, and I played the fuck out of that. I was man, I got real good at Dance Dance Revolution. It was like to the point where I couldn't go to the arcade obviously a lot because I was just a fucking kid, but I knew that there was a Dance Dance Revolution for PlayStation and PlayStation 2. So eventually I got DDR Max 2 for the PlayStation 2 when that came out. Played the fuck out of that. Around this time, let's just say I was about 9 years old. I remember one day I was like, okay, I want to make music. I want to do, how do they do this? Like I wanted to know how the fuck did they make these fucking sounds so fucking cool. So I remember Yahoo.com was the search engine of choice for me as a kid. I remember typing in how to make music. What a weird fucking sentence. But I saw, like, I remember Magic's Music Maker was a option. There was like the very first program I used was EJ, which is not really like music production. They gave you like loops and you just put them together, which honestly wasn't bad for me because it taught me arrangement. I did that for a little while until like halfway through the year, I was like 9.5-ish. I discovered something called FL Studio. I mean, I've never stopped using it since. I remember it was version 3. Yeah, version 3 when it came out. And that's when everything changed for me. I was working my ass off to figure out how to make these sounds. Now, at that time, there weren't a lot of tutorials. There weren't... it was hard. It was harder. There was less information. There was not a lot of, like, samples. It was kind of gatekeepy, if I'm being honest. Which is part of why on this channel I try to give as much information as I can. I don't like to withhold and gatekeep information. It was a lot harder for me when I was younger to figure things out. Everything was done trial and error, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like there being a lot more information now, because there's still things that are gatekept now, and I find that fucking appalling, to be honest. Like, in 2023, we're still gatekeeping information. Like, come the fuck on. Like, who are you to withhold any sort of information? Like, what are you protecting? Are you so in love with this idea of something that you have that you don't want to let other people like enjoy it themselves? I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But Yeah, making music because of video games, it's like I hit a weird point where, yeah, I'm 30 now, and, you know, in front of me there's a Mario Lego set. Because, you know, Mario, another example of a series that, like, had very specific themed, like, motifs and musical ideas and things that, like, I immediately associate with, which is why my brand, you know, like, on the screen you see scrolling the Ruxton logo, and, like, it's pixelated. It's like this, all of this is, like, conglomerate is just, like, my love for video games and, like, all these different game series that, you know, Pokemon is another one too that, like, changed my life. What, like, I just remember hearing all this music and I'm just like, this is so interesting, and just, it just tickled my brain to a point where I will never be able to let go of, like, the aesthetic of, like, retro games, I think, because of how I came about with music now. And it used to, like, make me feel kind of weird, but again, like, as I'm 30 now and I think back to it, I'm like, man, this is such a huge part of my identity. Like, what is wrong with that, you know? There was definitely a point in my like music career where I almost felt like I wanted to detach from it, which is kind of sad because it's like, as I just explained, without it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. It would be weird. It'd be like, I don't even know who I'd be. Like, I want you to think about what you're currently doing now, like an art or like art form or whatever, like some sort of art medium. Imagine you just didn't do it. Wouldn't that be fucking weird? Like, who would you be? Who would you be? What would you be doing? I think about that a lot. I bring that up in therapy every once in a while too. It's weird, but this is my identity, and I'm proud of that, you know? I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that I had this interest when I was a kid, and it never went away. And you know, it's okay that it defines me. Like, it's okay to have an interest that kind of, like, I don't want to say takes over, because, like, that sounds kind of negative, but it's okay to have an interest influence you in a direction in life, because, you know, it made you feel that intensely, because, you know, that's what it did for me. I mean, you know, now I'm doing things like 3D printing, like Bob-ombs. It's just like a little giraffe thing. He's got feet, like, so he can yeah, it probably sounds real good on the mic, but he can sit down, and, like, it's all cool. And it's like, it just becomes a big part of who I am musically, to know that I can just, like, incorporate this shit into what I do. It definitely feels like home in a lot of ways, which is a weird sentence and phrase for me, home. Very odd, but we'll get into that one in another video. But I can't believe it's been this long of me making music because of fucking video games. Video games are so different now. I mean, not in a bad way. Like, they've, like, man, I got sucked into fucking Elden Ring for a long time. That game, the music is striking. God, the music is insane. Video game soundtracks in general are insane to me. Something that really blows my mind is if you do go back and you listen to, like, Super Nintendo soundtracks, PlayStation soundtracks, like, a lot of it, I'm not going to say it's all good, because it's not. Some of it is bad. And I don't want to say that the artist that made it is bad. I want to say the artist that made that music, you know, was either inexperienced or really wanted a paycheck, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the music that is so good, here's a fantastic example of what I'm about to say. Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country 1. by David Wise. That song is so fucking timeless. It is nuts. It's like you could do covers of these songs and it would just work. That's what blows my mind about a lot of like older video game music. It's so, and I think it's just because a lot of it is either really simple or some of it was as complex as it could be at the time. And that in and of itself is just, it's nuts to me. I mean, it's like my Lavender Town remix that I did. Such a simple tune, but it's like, it fit perfectly with what I was doing with it. I definitely want to do more video game remixes just because it's fun. And it just reminds me of a more curious era for me. And I'm very glad that I chose to like take that curiosity, because man, it just feels so strange to think that I didn't care that much about music at the time. And now I do what I do. It's been a long fucking time. A very long time. You know, I'd like to say that anime soundtracks did the same for me too, but the only animes I really watched were like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball, and I'm still a huge Dragon Ball fan to this day. Bruce Faulkner, his Perfect Cell theme, I don't know if it's his or somebody else's, but man, that song gets stuck in my fucking head a lot. Pycon's theme, fucking nuts. The entire soundtrack in general for Dragon Ball is great, but nothing hits quite as hard as like the Donkey Kong Country series for me, or like Super Metroid. Oh my god. The like weird ambience that they got in Super Metroid. Like, what? And if you want a real treat, if you made it this far into the video, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go to Jammin' Sam Miller's YouTube channel, because he has remade a lot of soundtracks using the uncompressed, like, actual samples. Like, he found the samples, or at the very least, very close to them, and then just remade the songs with these uncompressed sounds and samples. And it's like, it breathed new life into a lot of these classic songs, and it's like insane. I love that dude. He's a fantastic musician as well. His original music is really fucking good. He is just all around a cool dude, and I cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I'll even put his channel in the description, just because I like the guy. I like the guy a lot. He's really fucking cool. But I definitely do want to make some more video game remixes. I've had a lot of ideas. Like I had a remix album idea I wanted to do, but it wasn't like related to like the bass banger shit that I do now. But I might go back to that. Another thing that I really want to do is there's a series that I want to do, and maybe I'll do it. Maybe I feel inspired to. I mean, I've had it in my head for a few weeks, so it's still like a want, and I kind of started it without starting it. But I want to do like a reimagined soundtrack series where I don't do the whole soundtrack, because that's a whole lot of work. But like I might do like one video per level, and I'll just like loop the video of whatever level it is, and then just like record me making music to that level, for that level, like a reimagined. And I think that would be really, really cool if I did some stuff like that. Now, I started doing that actually with Doom 64. Now, Doom is a phenomenal series. It's very well known for its like the E1M1 song, and being notorious for like having the wackiest fucking metal you've ever heard. Mick Gordon is a phenomenal artist for what he's done with the Doom series. Now, Doom 64, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who did the soundtrack for it. It's obviously not Mick Gordon. But Doom 64, I think, was supposed to be the sequel? or like the threequel. I don't fucking remember. But that was my introduction to Doom. I never really knew what Doom was when I was a kid, but I had Doom 64, and I just remember playing that at night and getting the shit scared out of me, because that game is fucking dark. Like, there's no lighting. I had to turn the gamma all the way up just so I could fucking see. And even sometimes I would turn my TV brightness up, but the CRT brightness was like overbearing sometimes. But I kind of I did like a reimagine of a couple songs on there, and I actually injected them into the game, which was really cool. I was using like the Brutal Doom engine or something like that, but I'll probably show that later. Maybe I'll redo it. Like I made a title theme first, and I think second and a third level. I was working on my own sound effects too, where my goal was to have my cats and like record all of my cats and just strictly make like enemy sounds based off of those samples. So I might go back to that, I don't know, but I definitely do want to do a reimagined soundtrack series. I think that could be really fun. And even take your guys' like suggestions. That would be pretty cool too, because it's like I'm kind of stuck in my own realm of the video games that I've played, but I know I've missed a lot of like really obscure titles, and those are the ones with some of the like the wildest music. And I would love to like find an obscure game that I've never played, play a little bit of it, and then get inspired and make some new music for that game. I think it'd be really cool and really fun. But these are just ideas that I've had for a few weeks, and you know, I'm always chock full of ideas. I have like a boatload of songs that I've been trying to finish up and get the ball moving on, and there's been a lot of collabs that I've been working on with same, you know, trying to get the ball rolling and get them released. And being a producer is very, very stressful at times, where it's fun first, obviously, my age-old saying of if no fun, then don't do. Sometimes it's not fun, and sometimes I don't want to do it because of that. And when the stress gets high, like it is right now, I tend to want to like back away slowly. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I definitely want to back away slowly, and honestly just want to play a fuck ton of video games in those moments. Like right now, I'm very tired and very stressed, and all I want to do is play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That game is amazing. I think it's because I'm such a huge Zelda fan in general, but you know, the music in Tears of the Kingdom is so fucking good. Like, I love how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have just continued to like reuse the motifs of like Rito Village, which a phenomenal song, you know. And if I'm not mistaken, the first appearance of that song originally was on Wind Waker, which I need to finish, but such a fantastic game series. Zelda is like, I love Donkey Kong and I love Zelda, and those two are neck and neck for me. I just love Donkey Kong a little bit more. So yeah, this is a fucking long video. If you made it this far, thank you. I do want to make more long form content like this, because I do have a lot of things to say, but I don't want to bore you guys. But I know there's some people that want to hear me talk a little bit more, especially in like a podcast format, and that's something I still want to do. I do want to talk back and forth with some friends and feature some of my close friends on this channel. I think that'd be really fun. Obviously promote what they do and the music that they make, or if they don't make music, promote whatever it is that they do, so that you guys get a little more insight on who I am, you know. Like, yeah, I make music, but there is obviously more to me than just I make music. Like, I like body modification. Clearly I love video games. I'm kind of like a nostalgia whore. I'm like stuck. I don't want to say I'm stuck in the 90s and 2000s, but it's because I lived through it. It's a huge part of who I am now. But I do have other interests other than music, and I think it's interesting to hear people that you listen to talk about things outside of like music, and like learn their interests and learn who they are and what kind of things they do outside. And like something for me personally, at least, when I if I like listen to a podcast of somebody that I like that is an artist or just in general, and I get to learn, you know, like they talk with their friends, they bring their friends on that no one knows, or maybe people do know, and it's like a childhood friend even, and it's like, man, you get to learn the person rather than the artist, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I want to bring myself to that level for you guys, because I just think it would be a lot more relatable, a lot more interesting, and it might make things make more sense. I don't know. But we are at the 25-minute mark, so I'm going to start wrapping this up. But thank you guys for getting this far. I appreciate everyone, every single one of you that has supported me thus far. And if you want to continue to support me, you know, you can buy the merch that's on my merch store, whether it's the old one or the new one. Depending on whenever you listen to this, currently it'll be the older store. All the links are below. If you want to support me on Patreon, the link is also below. Feel free to support me on there. There's some goodies on there. I'm actually reworking the tiers right now. And do I have anything that I can show? Yeah, I'll show a little sneak peek. It's not a very good one, but it's a draft. So I'm working on patrons getting a little special treat. I almost fucking slipped out of my hands. A little special treat. A little special coin with me on it. And this is a draft, so it's a little dirty looking, but I think that would be interesting. And there's a couple other things that I want to give away, but at the moment, that's all I want to show you. So support me on Patreon, or just continue to share and watch my content and listen to my music. I love you guys, and that's all for now. Ryan Seacrest out. Does anybody even say Ryan Seacrest out? Is Ryan Seacrest still alive? Pretty sure he is. I forgot who he is. I just remember people say Seacrest out. All right, I'm leaving. Okay, bye.